girls, it's Professor Sal the Story Gal with one of my favorite stories. It's about this little crab, and he wants to find a new house. And he has to find it because he's getting so big he won't fit in his shell any longer. It's called Is This a House for Hermit Crab by Megan McDonald. Here's the beach. He lives at the ocean. Hermit Crab was forever growing too big for the house on his back. It was time for him to find a new house. He crawled up out of the water looking for something to hide in where he would be safe from the prickle-pine fish. He stepped along the shore by the sea and the sand, scritch, scratch, scritch, scratch. Maybe when I come to that point, you can help me, boys and girls. Take your two little fingers and just go scritch, scratch. He came to a rock. Is this a house for Hermit Crab? Turning himself around, Hermit backed his hind legs beneath the rock. The rock would not budge. It was too heavy. So he stepped along the shore by the sea and the sand, scritch, scratch, scritch, scratch, until he came to a rusty old tin can. Is this a house for Hermit Crab? When he tried to walk with the can on his back, it bumped and clunked and it was too noisy. So he stepped along the shore by the sea and the sand, scritch, scratch, scritch, scratch, until he came to a piece of driftwood. Is this a house for Hermit Crab? Hermit crawled deep inside the rounded hole at one end. It was too dark. So he stepped along the shore by the sea and the sand, scritch, scratch, scritch, scratch, until he came to a small plastic pail. Is this a house for Hermit Crab? Climbing up toward the rim, whoops, he fell right in. He clawed and he clawed until he climbed back out. It was too deep. So he stepped along the shore by the sea and the sand, scratch, 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 until he came to a nice round hole in the sand. Is this a house for Hermit Crab? He poked his head down into the opening, and a huge pair of eyes blinked back at him. Hermit Crab shivered as he scurried away from the big fiddler crab peering out of its burrow. It was too crowded. So he stepped along the shore by the sea and the sand, scritch, scratch, scritch, scratch, until he came to a fishing net. Is this a house for Hermit Crab? Putting his claws into the heap, he got tangled and caught. Hermit Crab wiggled and wriggled until he found his way out of the net. It had too many holes. So he stepped along the shore by the sea and the sand, scritch, scratch, scratch, scratch. All of a sudden, a gigantic wave tossed and tumbled pebbles and sand over Hermit Crab's head. He swirled and whirled with the tide and was washed back out to the sea. Sleeker than a shark, a prickle-pine fish darted out from its hiding place in the tall seaweed. Every spine on its back stood straight as a steeple, his mouth wide open. He hurried for Hermit Crab. Hermit Crab raced across the ocean floor, scritch, scratch, scritch, scratch, scurrying behind the first creature he saw. It was a sea snail. He hoped it would hide him, but the shell was empty. The shell was empty. Quickly, Hermit Crab scrambled inside the shell as fast as a flash and clamped his claw over the opening of the shell. The prickle-pine fish circled the snail shell 3 times, but he could not catch sight of the little crab that had been there. He glided off in search of something else to eat. When all seemed still and quiet, Hermit Crab snuggled comfortably down into his new shell. It was not too heavy. It was not too noisy, not too dark, not too deep. It was not too crowded, and it did not have too many holes. At last, Hermit Crab had found a new home, and it fit just right. Oh, I like that. Boys and girls, stay tuned because We'll have another reading of Is This a House for Hermit Crab without the book. This time we're going to use some props like the red pail. So come back and look for Is This a House for Hermit Crab? A story. Have a good day.